When I first found a flea market group on Facebook, lots of people proudly displayed vintage or antique items they'd found in various places. They made it seem simple enough, scoring amazing finds. It's been fun watching items found, like when someone brings home their shopping spree. But I had a learning curve ahead. Even though I'm married to a German, this is how I felt. Overwhelmed, not knowing the language well, and not knowing how to search for items or places to find treasures. My husband was at work during the day, and though he sometimes helped me with search terms, he was new to this type of shopping also. I had no friends or family and couldn't speak the language, so the flea market groups helped me a lot. Over the last couple of years, I've shopped a lot, researched even more, and compiled all my notes to share and help others. I hope this information helps others who are new to Germany and other European countries who visit. So, let's get started. So this markedcom.de is the most commonly used flea market finder in Germany. You get most results there. You just plug in your name of your city. Another one I like to use in combination with that is this flow marked radar. And the reason for that is when there are flea markets, there's markers on the map depending upon the city that you plug in. So it makes it a little bit nice to have an overview like that to decide a route or what's close by. So if you want to go into France, the Bracons, which is flea markets, you can use this website, and it's kind of nice how there's these. You can click the region you're going to be traveling in to see what's available there. And I think France right now, in June 2021, is a little more open than Germany. And then we have Belgium. This is one of the Belgium websites to find brocants. They speak Flemish and French in Belgium, and also English. And the browser I'm using right here is Google Chrome. It has an auto translator, so you can translate it into your language. You can actually know what they're talking about. And then finally, of the flea market finders, this is kind of a cool one because you can choose which country, like Germany. I think the default for this particular website is Belgium, but it doesn't matter because you can click on other countries. They may not have a whole lot of listings, but it's still something that something like marked.com markcom.de may not know. So now I'm going to move on to the actual markets, the big markets. You'll hear people talk about Metz. It's in France. It's not too far over the border of Germany. So a lot of people make a day of it. There's a huge convention center with a lot of vendors. It's very popular to go to at least one time. And then there's Tongeren, which is another really big one. It's only every Sunday from like 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. um, and it's huge. I mean, it's got about anything you'd ever want there. And then there's Lille, which is in France. This is the largest antique market in Europe, and it's only held once a year, so you can imagine the amount of tourists they get. It is packed, like you see. With COVID, it was canceled last year. In 2020 it was canceled, but I do believe they're having it again this year. And then another is Saarlouis. I have never been to the flea market there. It's another big one though, quite popular. They don't, someone else may know better than me, but they don't have a date up yet when they will be open again. It's in Germany. So now these four markets I just mentioned, these four really large markets, as you can imagine, because they get so many tourists, there's huge crowds that come. The prices will be higher at those places. Yes, it's fun to go if you don't mind the crowds and the prices. But, and you may find some treasures there at a reasonable price. Just the experience is fun. And then if you're not the kind of person who likes to drive all over the place, all these other countries and flea markets, you can shop right at home using the usual. Most people know about this one who've been in Germany for very long. eBay Kleinanzeigen. It is classifieds. It is just like, well, very much like Craigslist in the US. And don't forget Facebook Marketplace. They have a whole lot of listings there, and you can narrow it down to, you know, within how many kilometers you're willing to drive to actually get an item that is listed and that they tell you you can come get and buy. And some items are free as well. The only thing about Facebook Marketplace is an awful lot of people I know in the flea market groups claim they've been banned, and that is a very common thing to happen. There's some sort of bug going on with Marketplace. Another classified kind of place is Buku. They have different chapters, one in Wiesbaden, and then there's one in Ramstein. So that the items that are listed there are more local to where you live. I don't know if there's ones in other cities in Germany. I've never researched too far, but they actually have a way for you to look it up. And now we're getting into the auction websites. The auction websites, you're all familiar with eBay, I'm sure. But the ebay.de is German, DE for Deutschland. The one in France, FR for France. AT is for Austria. And then co.uk is the UK. The only thing about the UK, eBay, if you're living outside the UK, is it is a lot more expensive because of Brexit and shipping charges. There's import fees now in Germany, but they still have some things there you can't get at other eBays, so sometimes it's worth going there. Another really popular site is auctionnet.com. You can set it to pay in euros and English language so you can understand what things are saying. It tends to be kind of a popular place for people to find grandfather clocks, but the only problem with that is the shipping. Apparently the transport's only to Frankfurt for this particular clock, and it's 350 euros. So sometimes if you group order certain things, you might be able to save on shipping. I'm not sure about that. Others who've done it know a lot more than me about it. And then we have Katawiki. Now, Katawiki, you have to be careful. They claim that there's experts who review the seller's items to ensure they're authentic, vintage, and antique items, but in fact, it's not really the case. Maybe sometimes, I don't know. I just know you have to be careful. Because sometimes the seller will tell you something that's not true. So you have to just double check. When you go to one of the online sites to search for items that you want to buy, what search terms do you use? Well, of course, obviously it depends upon what you're after. I've been compiling a list with photographs and the English term and the German terms, and occasionally French terms, such as butcher block, and that's because a lot of these items are available in France and not Germany as easily, like the French bottle racks. So I'm always adding to this list, and I'm always helping people who don't know a search term to use. My husband is German, and when I come to a dead end, I ask him, what does a German call this object? And he's been very valuable in helping me. I created a 9-page document that lists all of the websites I just discussed when we were browsing on Google Chrome together. It has a table of contents that makes it easy to jump to the pages that are needed. It lists all of the links that you can jump to. And then there's a section called Stores. The Stores is, all I've included is the most commonly discussed large chain thrift stores. And Troc is in France and Germany. TT International is in France and Germany. I don't know how many locations. The only one I know about is Neunkirchen in Germany. I think they're predominantly in France. And then another chain of stores that are like Salvation Army is Emaus. They have some really outstanding deals there. They're only in France. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I just call it Emaus. And then Church Pews is not really a large chain store, but it comes up now and again in the group because people like to group order church pews to save on shipping costs, because you can share the costs and distribute them. I have a section on search tips, how to search for your own items. And Google Translate is invaluable. Google Lens is invaluable, and I'll be covering these in a little bit. Google Chrome we've already talked about. You can have it translate to your native language. I have a section of German terms that are used when searching for thrift stores and flea markets in Germany. I give the definitions of what all of those mean. If anybody has other suggestions, they're welcome to contribute. And then finally, I have my treasure map that I created. It took me a whole lot of months and time to research visit. I haven't visited everything on the map though, and record those stores. When you join my private Facebook group, you have access to the materials I'm discussing in this video. Here is an overview of the map that I've created. You can see there's lots and lots and lots of stores, shops throughout Europe. And I've tried to keep up with COVID. Some stores have closed because of COVID, but it can't be 100% accurate. But for the most part, those stores all exist. I give access to anyone who joins my private Facebook group page. So I got this Woka tannin spot neutralizer for my antique sewing machine, and I can read it just fine, but it's in multiple languages. And the English translation is here, but let's say that you lose this page or can't read it in any of the other languages. So you get out your smartphone and you install Google Translate app. You select that app. You can select your languages, whatever language from one to other you can choose with the drop-down menu. And I've chosen French because I'm going to translate the French one. You have to click on the camera so that your camera can see what it's looking at. Point it at the text. You can do this with anything. Historical markers, stuff in your grocery store, whatever you don't understand. It's really handy. One of my favorite ways to use Translate is with menu items. You might need to focus it better. The other app that's invaluable Google Lens. I already have it installed. So I got this at a house resolution sale. I had no idea what it was worth, but we paid a very cheap price for it, or around, from what I remember, it may have been around 30 euros, but he marked down things because we got several. So when I got it home, I used my Google Lens to find out more about it, the history, because the person didn't know. And you can see there's one on eBay in Germany for 349 euros. Now it's not sold, so no one's willing to pay that price right now. In any case, it's worth considerably more than I paid for it. And this where you'll really find the good use of Google Lens. Now let's say you're at a historical landmark and you either don't understand what it says about it or would like to know more about it when you're traveling. The other way to use Google Lens is to go to your picture gallery. If you've taken a picture of it, and it will tell you what that historical place is. Obviously, in this case, it's the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. But you can also just point the lens at the monument, and it will also bring up the historical
significance of it. It may not do that for everything, but for the more famous ones, probably.
Thanks for watching. If you found this information useful, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting, or even donating to my funding sources. You can join my private Facebook group too. You'll find it in the information below this video. Thanks again.